brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
It is definitely time for more Suds. Welcome to the Suds episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. My host today, this is good old boy Mike, by the way, and joining me are good old boy Dave.
Hey, yo, what up?
Good old gal Julieanna.
Hey, guys.
Reverend Mark.
Hi, y'all.
And joining us by Skype today is good old boy Zane.
Hey.
All right. Our Suds segments are all about beer, and more beer. And what we're going to talk about today is the Brewery Takeover from Against the Grain. But first up, Zane is going to get the honor of going over our Suds ratings for today.
We'll be tasting and discussing these beers and rating them with the Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are the ratings now. 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Number 2, was that a belch? 3, what a relief. 4, a body should really not make that noise. 5, listen to that hang time? Give me another.
All right, Zane, so I'm going to say if you signed up for method acting classes, ask for your money back.
Whoa.
That was a good try.
I would give his reading a 4.
A 4, how about that? A body should really not make that sound.
Good job, Zane. Good job, buddy.
Today's show is a Brewery Takeover episode. We'll be talking about beers from one brewery today, and that is going to be Against the Grain, based in Louisville, Kentucky. Make sure you actually say Louisville correct, or they'll actually make you swim back across the Ohio River to Indiana if you don't get that correct. So the beers we're going to discuss today are all from Against the Grain, and their names are Citra Ass Down, The Brown Note, 35K, Bay and Pepper Your Bretts, Kentucky Ryed Chicken, and 5 Roses from the All Funked Up series, the Kölsch version on Red Cypress. Those are the beers that we have to review for today. Zane doesn't have access to all these beers, but he does have access to quite a few of these and has had some of these in the past as well. So I've asked Zane. I've asked Dave and Zane to cover an overview of Against the Grain. I know. Just give me another beer.
Brangelina?
Yeah, it probably. It's whatever it is. It's pathetic. I can tell you that. So Dave, why don't you tell us all about Against the Grain?
Sure. Against the Grain Brewery, or ATG, was established by brewer Sam Cruz, Jerry Nagy. Is that how you sound?
We'll give you a good one on that.
I'm going to say Ganagi.
Pretty close.
Just to piss him off. Adam Watson and restaurateur Andrew Ott in September of 2011. ATG, located at Slugger Field, a Louisville.
Ooh, that was close, wasn't it?
Yeah, is Louisville's premier craft beer.
We will let you stay in the state for that one.
I didn't say Louisville. Boasting production of a countless of number of innovative and unique brews, as well as an array of amazing smoked meats. Nothing goes with a good beer like some nice smoked meat. All served at the adjoined restaurant and pub. They have the 150 different beers and a very wide range of styles. So Julieanna and I were actually there last year. We went before the what's that thing called?
Tailgate winter warmer.
Tailspin.
Sorry.
See, I knew she would do that. That's why I let her into it. No, we were there. The food is very good. The beers obviously are there's a nice rotating selection all the time. Great merch Just don't go during the Louisville basketball game, or you'll be waiting for a while.
So, Zane, I know you're local to HEG, and they recently expanded. So tell us more about this very common theme in craft brewing right now.
In the summer of 2014, ATG announced that they were expanding. This expansion includes the acquisition of the old Fisher Sips building located at 1800 Northwestern Parkway in the Shippingport, Portland neighborhood of Louisville. At 25,000 square feet, the space is perfect for our current and foreseeable future expansion plans of ATG. In addition to this brewing facility, it will include a new 3-vessel, 30-barrel brew house manufactured by W.M. Springman, and a number of unspecified number of 30 and 60-barrel fermenters and bright tanks for their beers, allowing an initial annual production of 6,500 barrels of beer per year.
That's a lot of
and that's a lot of beer.
Nice.
That's a pretty good rate, especially for a Midwestern microbrewer.
Yeah.
They were contract brewing in another place in Maryland prior to this expansion, but as far as I know, that's no longer the case after this expansion. I don't know where the bottle feathering machine for the Kentucky Ryed Chicken is going to go, but hopefully they will find space for it, because that's hilarious. They distribute now to about 23 states, and their beer is starting to show up in Western Europe. I've been to their tap room. I know the brewers. They're a great bunch. They kind of embody the characters that are on their beer bottles, and kind of this almost comic, over-the-top personas that they adopt.
Hey, Zane, which one of them is the brown note guy?
Yeah, really.
I wouldn't say that those characters are exactly them, but they kind of have the same over-the-top, like, ridiculous personalities. I honestly hope that the brown note was not directly modeled off any of them. And that was not a personal experience that they had to, share and make a beer about.
Well, it almost begs the question, when you would walk up to one of them, for small talk, it's like, so, which one of you has been arrested? It's like...
flip a coin.
Which one hasn't?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's more the question you should be asking. So which one of you guys, is not on some kind of FBI watch list?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that really caught my attention from ATG is just some awesome packaging. The label for the brand note is probably one of the best ones that I've seen in 2014. I mean, it is just so funny. It's a pair of underwear soiled with a brown streak, coming out of it.
So rude.
It is. It is awesome.
That's nasty.
It is.
You look at it and you go, man,
I want that beer.
there's something delicious in there.
Don't look at that, Mama.
So the Kentucky Ryed Chicken with the feathers all over the bottle was also just an absolute nightmare for distributors and retailers.
Yeah.
But frankly, I loved it. I just thought it was very innovative. So this bottle for Kentucky Ryed Chicken, it has a wax cap on it, so they actually dipped it in wax, and then as the wax was cooling, they actually rolled the entire bottle in a set of chicken feathers, and so it's this bottle. It's actually covered in wax and chicken feathers, and it was so funny.
Feathered their own beer.
Yeah. So, I love the fact that they seem to have a real sense of humor, not only about their packaging, but I think their approach to beer in general. With over 150 beers, I mean, I just think that they really are not afraid to try a wide variety of things. And I noticed through a lot of their beers that a lot of times you can almost see, you're actually seeing the evolution of some of their recipes. So they'll have one beer, but they'll have like 6 different variations of it.
Yeah.
So one of the ones we're having today, Five Roses, is a good example of that, where there were multiple versions of it. and even some of the other beers we're having today, I can actually see where they add multiple versions over time as well. Some that probably never hit a bottle. I mean, they probably went through a bunch of taproom versions and said, "What do you think? Do you like it?" Until they probably honed in on one. They went, well, we have an equal number of people that like it and hate it, so that hits the metal. Let's bottle it. Something like that. Well, I appreciate the background on Against the Grain, and if you do get a chance to drop by the tap room, it is right inside Louisville Field, Slugger Field, right? Mm-hmm. Right downtown?
No, that's correct. It's right there in the middle of the ballpark, and it's a beautiful. It's both a beautiful brew pub and a beautiful ballpark.
Yep. Well, let's take a quick segment break here. We're going to come back, and then we'll be talking about all of these beers. All right, so let's get right to the beers we have from Against the Grain. So what I've asked each of our hosts to do here is taste all the beers that we had to go through, and they're going to pick their top three, and we'll introduce the beers as we go around until we exhaust introducing all of them. Then if we have some time to talk about any of the beers that we didn't pick, we can maybe discuss why or what we found in some of those as well. So up first is going to be Reverend Mark, who's going to go through his top three. All right, Reverend Mark, how about
1 to 3 or 3 to 1?
I don't care. You can do it either, whatever you want.
I'll start with my third.
Okay.
Yeah, since we were already talking about it, the one with the rude label, the brown note.
All right.
I like that one because it's a basic mild brown. Huh. Yeah. So
let me tell everybody about this beer. It's a brown ale. It's called the Brown Note. The ABV on this is 5%. The description here from Against the Grain is this brown ale. This is the brown ale to end all brown ales. Enjoy it because there is no longer any reason to drink another. You have reached the pinnacle. A healthy blend of traditional British malts gives this popular style a semi-sweet, biscuity, slightly roasted flavor. Oats thicken the mouthfeel, and a handful of specialty malts add complex chocolate, toffee, and caramel notes. Interesting. I'm reading my own tasting notes beside all this at the same time. So the hops are mostly traditional, earthy British hops, but we've cooked it up a bit with some Cascade late in the boil just to show those snooty Brits that we... Are you calling us snooty? I will not ship any more of our British malts over to you. How about that? You backwards Kentucky boy.
Wow.
Darn colonists.
That was snooty and British.
God save the Queen. So, yeah. So that's all about the brown note. You got to get me off this. Reverend Mark, what did you think about, what was your tasting notes around the brown note here?
Yeah, just in addition to what you've already said, I think it was a very noble experience in terms of it being a European malt.
I can almost see the Queen waving.
Yeah, hello. I found that it was also the kind of a mild brown that is like seasonal. That is, really cold. It would be excellent in the summer. And today, as it warms, I'm thinking, I could quaff a couple of quarts of this out of a ball jar.
That's how we roll around here. We got the mason jar out.
We're down here below the Manson-Nixon line.
Yep. Hand me another bottle of brown note. Screw the Queen.
This beer, sir, sure does have a pretty smell.
Yeah. Yep. I like that pretty bottle.
Okay, back to
business. Back to beer.
Back to business.
Well, so what's your Suds rating on the brown note?
Give it a 4.
A 4? How about that? The body should really not make that sound. So what else is in your top 3?
The second one is the 35K.
Oh, how about that? All right, so 35K is a sweet stout. A sweet stout is what 35K is. This has an ABV of 7.7%. It is not your typical Jelly of the Month Club beer. Dark roasted malt and bittersweet cocoa and coffee flavor and aroma burst from this pitch black stout. The full body and sweetness are derived from the addition of lactose, aka milk sugar, which is not fermentable by beer yeast. A healthy dose of English Kent Goldings hops provides a counterpoint by this ale's rich and complex maltness. So what's your tasting notes on 35K here?
I'd say move over left hand.
Huh. Wow.
It's good. It's very, very good. Silky, cocoa forward, but not cloying. It's heady with hints of roast coffee, little bit of caramel underneath. Think it's excellent.
So what's your Suds rating on that?
I've given that one a 4 as well.
How about that? A body should really not make that sound. And what's the last in your top 3?
My last one is the one with feathers all over it.
You know, we're going to have a chicken plucking in the background. You know, we don't while we're sitting and recording, but
the Kentucky Rye.
Yep. So, against the grain, Kentucky Ryed chicken. This is a specialty grain, is what it's classified as. It has an ABV of 6.6%. Here's a description from Against the Grain. Our first barrel-aged beer here at Against the Grain is Kentucky Ryed chicken. Named so because, 1, it's made in Kentucky. 2, thank goodness. I mean, number 2, it has a lot of rye. Duh.
You can't make this up.
And it is actually aged in a rye barrel. I know. Let's see. It is actually not chicken. And as we have, and you should know, that chicken refers to anything that is not chicken, chickwein, which is brewed with maris otter. I probably read that poorly, didn't I? Yes. Yep, I did. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. So it's brewed with maris otter, rye malt, caramel rye, and imparting a spicy, fruity, and dry flavor. Then hopped with enough English nugget and Kent Goldings just to balance and ferment with our house ale yeast. After fermentation, we moved the entire batch into the ATG private dining room and used Redemption rye barrels from our good friends at Strong Spirits. They're staged for 5 weeks until we felt it had packed up a right amount of residual bourbon flavor and oak flavors, and then we transferred it to a serving tank, and they bottled it from there. So, and then they rolled it in chicken feathers.
Yep.
Of course. So, seriously,
that's what appealed to me.
I mean, you have to check out the picture of this if you've never seen one. So, it's really funny. So, what are your tasting notes on Against the Rye here, Reverend Mark?
Well, I think, for a mid-gravity beer, it's still very layered, and it's not thick, of course, in that kind of a layered way. It's not an overly wrought beer, if you will, but it has that rye snap and kind of spice. The barrel aging, which you mentioned, isn't that long, so it's not like in your face. I think it has a mellow kind of roundedness, some very light fruit notes, but not cidery. This was the top one.
So what's your Suds rating for this then?
I'm going to give it the 5.
Wow. Listen to that hang time. Give me another. Huh. He likes the rye, doesn't he? We know him.
He likes the feathers.
There are a lot of things alike in that beer.
Catcher in the rye.
All right. So next up, Julieanna is going to give us her top 3 picks.
So sadly, somebody has already trumped me 2 out of 3.
Oh, okay.
But I at least get to talk about
good
one.
Taste,
all right.
So
we do, though, don't we? Yeah.
So why don't you tell us the 2 that are duplicates of Reverend Mark's?
Well, obviously the KRC. not just because of the feathers.
Kentucky Red Chicken.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of rye ales, and I really love the rye flavor that was in this one. It was just great, and for that, I gave it a 4.
Wow, how about that? A body should really not make that sound. So what else was in your lineup?
The other one that I liked is the brown note, and I liked it for many reasons. It's true, it's like it's an all-year kind of brown, but the brown ales are the sort of beer that I think lately has been left behind. You know, you're either doing the IPAs, double IPAs, stouts, barrel age this, barrel age that, but a brown ale is such a great, flavorful, lighter beer that I think it's been sort of tossed to the wayside. So the combination of an extraordinary label and a really good batch of beer makes this like one of my favorites.
So what's your Suds rating on that?
This one's a 4 as well.
4 as well. A body should really not make that sound. So what's your other beer that you're going to talk about then?
The Bay and Pepper Your Breads.
She goes right to the sour, you know? All right, so Bay and Pepper Your Breads. Let me find the sheet on this. I'm scrambling. Oh, here we are. Okay. Against the Grain Bay and Pepper Your Breads is a Saison, and it has an ABV of 5.8%, it looks like. So here's a description from ATG. This culinary delight is a rich farmhouse-style saison brewed with a generous helping of aromatic Turkish bay leaves and a dose of coarsely ground telecherry black peppercorns. I can say that those are some ingredients that I wouldn't find in a lot of beer. Bay leaves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I put that in soup, not beer. But anyway, the wild fermentation is finished off with cultured Brett, and which led to a noticeable sour note. As a collaboration between celebrated Louisville chef Josh Lehman and the brewers at Against the Grain, this beer highlights the interplay of cooking and brewing in a single glass. Complex, yet refreshing, this beer has a wild, perfumey aroma that prepares the palate for the tangy, yeasty flavor that mingles with spiciness from the spices as well as phenols produced in fermentation. So that's the description for Against the Grain. So what are your tasting notes on this, Julieanna?
So I know this is going to sound weird, but
I love the bay leaves.
I do. So it's kind of like my favorite pasta dish minus the tomato sauce.
It's a beer, not pasta.
Yeah, but okay. So you get that bay leaf taste, and you got the peppers in there. It's kind of biscuity and a little tart from the bread, and then there's this hint of like Meyer lemon in it. And to me, it's like the perfect Italian dish, minus the tomato sauce.
So what's your Suds rating on this pasta dish?
I'm giving it a 4.
A 4. A body should really make that sound. So, mademoiselle, you want to proceed with the beer, right?
See.
Yes, I can hear the Chianti with beer. All right.
Look how that Italian guy is speaking French.
Yeah. Well, they're close to each other. Yes, I know.
Buonasera. This outrageous accent.
So I know you get it.
Silly king.
I know. I've been back and forth in between Italy and France a little too much. So yeah, it all kind of goes
with
together.
a touch of England.
It's all right. My wife goes to France and speaks Spanish, so
Yeah, there you go.
She looks at him and goes, "Senorita, I'll have a baguette."
Por favor.
Right.
They should all be speaking American.
That's right. If they all speaking American, we'd be a lot better.
That's right.
We'd be trying to put bay leaf in beer. That's for sure. All right, next up to this crazy madness is Dave with his top 3 picks.
Okay, so they basically talked about all 3 of my beers before, so I'll start with the 35K.
Cool.
Great stout. I'm not always a huge sweet stout fan, but roasty coffee, some chocolate in the nose, and then a roasty flavor with a full body, and just that lactose sweetness that comes right at the end and sits on your tongue. Very good stout. I would give that a 4.
Wow, how about that? A body should really not make that sound. Great beer.
Next, the bay and pepper your buns or
your bread.
Yeah, your bread. Yeah, what you said. So I can really tell that there's a chef's influence in this beer because there's a savory quality from the herbs that comes in, and it is really well balanced. So it's like its own beer and food pairing all in one kind of thing.
See?
Great, just a hint of funk, just the right amount of funk at the end. Kind of like the movie Car Wash, just a little bit of funk right at the end. You know? So I would give that one a 4 as well.
Ooh. How about that? A body should not make that sound.
Finally, the brown note.
Yeah.
So, where to start? It's nice to look at.
But not the label.
Well, yeah, no, I like it because, a lot of times when you're going to a beer store and there's so many beers and they're like, you could spend 3 days just picking through stuff. A lot of times I find myself looking for interesting labels. Now, that can be hit or miss because on the one hand, they're so creative and proud of their beer that they've spent as much time with the appearance and the packaging as they have making a great beer. Or, on the other hand, they're great marketers but not very good brewers. So it can be iffy. I think it works in their favor this time. So then you taste it, man, and this is what a brown ale needs to be. It's what is it, about 5%? I think that's in the mild range.
Sounds about right.
English milds, or even I think this one's really more of an American mild. That's one of the hardest things to brew well. The mild brown ale was historically the English equivalent of the Saison. It was for the farm hands. After a hard day's work, you come in, you get a little mild brown, fill you back up, and then you can go back out and work, and you're not wrecked from drinking a high-gravity beer. But it has so much flavor and so much complexity to it. I find this to be an amazing beer, and I'm probably going to try to score a few bottles of it somewhere. So I'm giving this a 5.
Wow.
Yay! All right.
It's a hang time. Give me another. So it's interesting. You guys are so well aligned. Even it was, all of these are really great beers. So, but Dave, you have to hand it that there's a natural play with that brown note label and your future T-shirt. So so we should see if we could license that. And say
if this guy would have left the cork in.
Yep. See,
he wouldn't have had that problem.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just a natural play for your catchphrase. I like that. Well, we're going to take another quick segment break here. We'll be back with Zane's top 3 review and good old boy Mike's. Stand by, come right back, and enjoy some more discussion on Against the Grain. Hey, thanks for coming back, even at the prospect of wearing one of those shirts from Dave, that frightens you. This is Sip, Suds, and Smokes. We're talking about Against the Grain. It's a Brewery Takeover edition. We're talking about 6 beers from them today. So next up to talk about his top 3 is going to be Zane. So, Zane, what's in your top 3?
Well, I like to do a countdown just because.
Ooh, a countdown.
I like countdowns, so I'm going to go 3, 2, 1 on this.
Okay.
My number 3 is the brown note. When I first tried it, it was really way too cold. I pulled it straight out of the fridge and drank it, and to me at that temperature, the malt and the hops kind of were staring at each other across the room like a divorced couple at their kid's wedding.
It's funny.
Well.
I love that.
But they were just separate and like they hated each other. And then as it warmed up, it just really became much more complex, and the body kind of developed, and it just balanced out and became really delicious. I would say this is a beer that needs to be enjoyed at its proper temperature, but when it is, it will be enjoyed.
Huh. So what's your Suds rating on the brown note?
I've got to give it I would probably give it a 3, but I got to say, just because of how rocky it was at first, but I got to give it a 1 on the label. I know I'm the...
man. Wow. All right, we're going to go with 3, which is, what a relief there's for that. He has potential.
No, the beer is very good, but if I were to walk through a liquor store and see that on the label, I don't know that would be the first thing I'd buy.
It was the first thing I bought. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, so what's up next, dear Zane?
All right, so my second pick is the Bay and Pepper Brett's. Really has a nice lactic sourness, and I think that the Bay and Pepper flavors just work really well in there. I kind of agree with Julieanna. I think she nailed it on that one. It's like having a great pasta dish or a great stew with your beer all in one, and I gotta say that Josh Lehman down at the Grail's one of my favorite hangouts, and he nails it every time.
For a pasta dish, what are you going to rate it? What's your Suds
I'm gonna rate
rating?
it a number 4.
A number 4.
See?
But it should not make this sound. Hey, Gino, don't do that. Put the cork in it.
And I would say my number 1 would be the Kentucky Ryed Chicken.
Wow, how about that?
I again with Julieanna, the rye, both from the grain that they used to brew the base beer and the rye that they used in the barrels to age it, the rye whiskey that is, both come out beautifully, and it creates a dangerous and seductive beer that you could easily get very, very drunk on.
So what's your Suds rating on that?
My Suds rating on that is also a 4.
A 4. A body should not make that sound. Well, some great beers, and we'll swing around to my tasting notes and top 3 picks in no particular order. I am going to say first the 35K was one of my top 3. You know, I loved Reverend Mark's choice, which is, hey, people at left hand, move over. Because that really embodies quite a bit of what I thought about this beer at first, which was, I've had this before, but this is actually a little bit better than something I've had, and couldn't quite put my finger on it until you said that, and I'm like, yeah, that's totally it. So I wrote down solid, really dark roast. I mean, this is like super dark, like inky dark. And I guess for a milk stout, I guess I tend to think not quite that color variation, is really quite that dense and dark. I'm thinking more like imperial, stout, where things are really kind of inky and viscous as well. But a really solid beer. I like the roastiness of this. That's really what got me on this. A really solid 4 on that. A body should not make that sound. So, also in my top 3 is Viva Italia. It's a bay and the peppers with the breads. So, it's a beer. It's very, very good. When I sit down, I have a little bit of the pasta. I want to come over and do a cappuccino. It's a beer that I like very much. And so, you kind of taste it, and it comes across like a malta. Is I said it's a malta. It's a malta come forward and roll down without
a spicy meatball.
It's a spicy meatball in a cup. So me and Gino, we sit down. We go, hey, Gino, Mikey, what do you think about this? We go, hey, I think it's a saison. He says saison. It's a saison. It's a saison. So I wrote down, it's a saison. And when I read the descriptions, it's a saison. So for a saison with a little bit of bretta, it's a big amount of forward. It's a really good sour. So for us, the sour beer is a very good. So me, Gino, we give the salad a 4.
Usually you insult an entire state, but now I think you alienated an entire.
You say country. I've been banned. They're just going to greet me right there at Rome Airport, and they're going to go, "Hey, you! It's a beer guy. You, right there, out. We're going to send you back.
No more pizza.
Back to France. No more pasta for you." No witty. I was just waiting for you to come up with one line from Monty Python to jump in on this one. I'm sure there is one. Anyway.
Not too many Italian Monty Pythons.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
A lot of French.
They hate the French. That's true. Yeah, that's if it was the French, we would have plenty of things to chime in on. So, yeah, really great beer though. It's all that flavor, it's coming. When I was reading the description, I was like, oh my goodness, is there anything other than the kitchen sink in this? I mean, I was just waiting for, yes, we decided to just cram a meatball in the recipe at the end of the day.
That's the next version.
The next version, bayonne pepper with meatball.
Exactly.
With bread.
With the meat. Well, speaking of Monty Python, though.
Of course.
Like right on cue.
Let's do it.
I would say let's kind of bracket aside the Italian thing, and I find this particular saison to be very medieval. It's a very gruit forward kind of beer. Yeah. It's very gruit, and I'm also a mead maker, so I really prefer my gruits in mead, and that's one reason I didn't rate this one as a top 3. I thought it was fine. But like I say, I prefer my gruits and my meads.
I think that bay adds a lot that the hops in the saison base don't have.
It's definitely one of those beers that you're going to pick up and you go, huh, I've never tasted anything like this before. Just wanted to refresh my memory around it is that, you'll, the Brett presentation is definitely going to capture your attention and that malt, but then there's all these soup things going on with it too, so just drop in immersion blender and hit play.
Sounds good to me.
Pretty wild. All right, so my last pick is it's going to be the brown note.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
So I'm going to give the label a 5 just to balance things out here with Zane.
Fair enough.
The tasting notes I had around the brown note are it just tasted like this really good bitter Tootsie Roll. It just had incredible balance that I really loved around it. And we've had some really great browns on this show, and
Dave Brown.
Yeah, that too. But I think there's a couple of other browns that I tend to think of when I am thinking reference beers. Bell's Brown is one of those, and Four Hands cast iron brown is a couple of what I consider a couple of browns that are shipping right now. This really has a lot of potential to hit a very broad range of really great palates, and I think would really meet the needs of what a lot of people are looking for. Maybe this is a little bit sweeter than what some people might be thinking of, and I think that's the reason why I chose a Tootsie Roll as opposed to just kind of a roasted, kind of note to it. Because there is a bit of some sweetness to it, but I really, really like it. And it's just all that really great balance around it. The fact that they paid attention to the bittering around this tells me that they just didn't. This was definitely not their first recipe. This feels like something that's gone through a lot of a lot of trial and error to the point that they went, yep, sweet, it's bitter, this is all kind of working together, and I can tell that there's a lot of love around the brown note. So my Suds rating for the brown note is going to be 4, which is a body should not make that sound.
So would you say this is your favorite of the...
Well, those are 3 completely different beers.
Well, I'm just trying to find out if it's your number 1 or your number 2.
It's a number 2. If you look at the label,
It's definitely the number 2.
Yeah, we're just going to have to cut them off, aren't we? We are. We're just, every moment.
The whole thing.
Hang on a second. Let me rip that cable out.
Good luck with that.
What happened to Dave's mic? I don't know.
I'll pantomime the rest of my appearance.
So there were a couple of beers that we did not get to chat about, and we got a couple of minutes here to discuss these. So nobody picked Five Roses, which is the name of this beer is Five Roses from the All Funked Up series. I said that pronunciation rather well and carefully there, Dave.
Emphasize the in.
Yes. The Kölsch version on Red Cypress is what this was. It wasn't that this struck me as not what I was thinking of. I thought I'd cover a couple of quick tasting notes around a couple of these things we did not get to. So this beer had, I think if I find my note here, I think this is the cola one. Nope, not that. Yeah, this sweet cola taste. Yeah, and tangy. It's like somebody took a wedge of a lime, poured a flat cola, any variety, and put it in a bottle.
Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
Virgin Cuba Libre.
That's right.
Well, I'm also thinking this is a Kölsch, and a Kölsch is a light hybrid coal-fermented German ale. It's a gateway beer, if you will, that brings bud drinkers into the promised land.
It didn't strike me as a gateway to anywhere.
No, I just said when I saw Kölsch and then barrel-aged, I thought,
emptying the bottle.
don't do that. So that was my reaction.
Wow. Any other comments about that beer?
Tree bark.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little disappointing to me.
I thought it was just eh.
I was hoping it would be kind of cool, but tree bark.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the other beer we didn't get to chat about was Citra Ass Down.
Awesome name.
Yes. So, I guess one of the things that struck me about this is it really presented itself as a single hop profile. I mean, the Citra is really coming through so hard and fast. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm sitting here and I'm actually reading all the other things they're putting in this, I mean, here's the rest of the grain bill. They're saying, in addition to having Citra in this, it has has Pale, Vienna, Munich, are the other hops that are in there. And I'm sorry, but if they're in there, they got lost. Because all I can taste is the Citra that's in this. That's it.
Yeah,
I actually kind of liked that. I thought that it really showcased those Citra hops well. Even though it had some other things in there, it brought that Citra to the forefront. It's almost like everything else was the background singers that made the lead singer shine. You know what I'm saying?
I got like hand motions, going down.
So the malts were the pips.
Was Gladys Knight.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with them just using Citra hops. I think what bothered me is that there wasn't a good balance of early and late edition on the Citra to me. And I felt like it was just more bitter than.
That's true.
And the late edition stuff didn't really
like grapefruit bitter.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I thought also because this is a double IPA, there are just so many incredible double IPAs out there that it really wasn't even on my top 10 list.
Yeah. There's no way.
So I couldn't really put it in a top 3 even here.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It's good beer, but
Well,
it was good. Yeah.
And the mouthfeel on it wasn't to me where it needed to be for a double IPA. Yeah, it was a bit thin. Yeah. So, I mean, for somebody who loves Citra hops, this is their thing because it's a big Citra bomb, but just not what I wanted.
Well, if I had to put this in a category, this is the twin brother of the Weyerbacher Simcoe, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. It's because it really presents itself as a one hop wonder, and even though it's really not. So anyway, well, interesting discussion had about some of these other beers we didn't put in our top 3. So Zane, I know you and you get around to the brew pub quite a bit, and I know that Julieanna and Dave have been there as well. Are there any beers that we didn't talk about you feel are at least worth note as we're talking about Against the Grain?
Well, one of the things that's very interesting about Against the Grain is they use their brew pub as kind of a pilot brewery for what they bottle and distribute.
Yeah.
And so when you go there, you're likely to get anything. They have 5 or 6 categories. They have the hop, the malt, the smoke, the dark, the session, and the whim. And so anytime you go there, you can just basically order by name. You just name one of those categories, or you can actually name the beer itself, and they'll serve it to you. And it's really interesting because you kind of never know what you're going to get. And when they first started out, some of them were hit or miss, but they've really nailed it down, and they've really improved a lot over the years. And I would say that when you go there, you can try some really interesting things. And then based on kind of how people react or what they do, that's what they brew and bottle. So I would, if you ever get in the Louisville area, I would highly recommend going down to the ballpark. If you have a chance, watch a game, watch the Bats lose, and then go down to the brewery and have a beer and suck it up. And they've got wonderful food as well. And just try to, just try what they've got, because they've got, they make up recipes all the time. These are some of the most creative people I've ever met in my life. Excellent brewers. They really know their stuff. And it's worth going down there and just picking something out. And I have to say, although they don't really bottle a lot of their smoked beers, those are some beers worth trying. They make some very excellent smoked beers.
Yeah, I second that. And also their cask ales. We had an amazing ESB when we were there, and I was completely blown away because it's kind of like tucked in the corner of the bar, and unless you're really looking for it, you don't see it, but oh my God.
Oh, they're amazing. They've got great. Some of their hidden gems are really something to speak for.
Exactly.
Well, it was really great, our discussion here today on Against the Grain, and I like to think we covered a good broad base of the beers they have to offer, so definitely have an opportunity to get a hold of some of the beers, or drop by the brew pub in person. You should definitely do that. So, but definitely great stuff for today. So, thanks to all listeners here at Sips, Suds, and Smokes. You can catch all of our episodes online on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Uncle John's Basement, and Spreaker, our native media host. Our terrestrial radio stations are always wondering why in the heck do we actually not pull the plug on these people? But they still keep us on, and if you'd like to hear this show on your favorite radio station, send them a note, not a brown note, send them a nice note, and copy us as well. Wow. You can reach us online anytime at...
I want to hear a brown note.
You can send me the brown note. You can reach us online anytime at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Fan mail to Dave can be sent to info@sipsudsandsmokes.com as well.
Try to keep it clean, folks.
Please, no use underwear ever. I'm already at a less than first name basis with my mailman, so... Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every single day. It's at Sip Suds Smoke is our handle. Our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news, so definitely check us out on there. Listen, do us a favor if you're listening to us online and rate this episode. That's a really big help to us. It helps us get to the top of a lot of search engines, and other people can find us as well online as well. I want to thank my co-host for being here today. Reverend Mark, thank you.
Good to be here.
Julieanna.
Cheers, everyone.
Good old boy Dave.
Leave the cork in.
Good old boy Zane, thanks for joining us today. Good old boy Zane, thanks for joining us today.
Hey.
Super. Well, this is good old boy Mike asking you to come back once again and keep...
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.